And everybody, how you guys doing?
Runner on first, and here's the pitch. It's a long drive. Lemon racing back. It could be out of here.
You probably think that ball is out of here. No way.
He made the catch. I don't believe it. Lemon went over the wall and took a home run away that would have won the game.
Hey, that's what they paid me for.
What a sensational catch.
Watch Chet Lemon haul him in.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Mostly Metrics podcast here at TigersMLReport.com. I am Rogelio Castillo. My name is Chris, Uper, and Mike. And you can find us on Tigers ML Report. Well, I just said that. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to the podcast. And just wanted to give a little shout out to Chet Lemon. There was a really, really good article done today by Jeff Siddell of the Freep. And I suggest you take a chance to, when you get a moment, read it. And if you don't have a subscription, the Freep, you should do so, or borrow somebody's, or whatever the case is. It was really well done. Chet Lemon's in kind of bad shape right now, and he is coming to town this weekend as the Tigers celebrate the 1984 team. And we often joke about how the Tigers kind of beat that drum pretty regularly with celebrating 84 Tigers in any way, shape, or form. But it's actually the 4-year anniversary. So, but in the case of Chet Lemon, so just when you see your heroes or players that you grew up watching like this, in bad shape like that, it tears at you a little bit, honestly. And yeah, so but yeah, well, there'll be kind of a 84 theme across the show this week because we don't really often get a chance to do that. Nor do we also. This will be the first time in show history. Chris and I have done the show now since 2017, 2016, the Tigers are over 500 in August. It wasn't the COVID season. Because even then they weren't, they were not 500 then, I don't believe.
I know, it's crazy. I haven't had a week like this watching baseball. Yeah, I remember watching it 10 years ago. The last time I remember being this into baseball, I remember watching I used to run it. I was a cart guy for Costco out by Great Lakes Crossing. I used to get carts for them right after school. And back in like 2011, 2012, 2013 era, I would put the game on, be on my phone all the time. It's probably one of the reasons why they let me go, because I was always on my phone watching every Tigers game that I could on my phone while I was out there. But that's what it felt like. And it's stupid because those teams were way better and had way more to play for. But my point is in my heart, I feel like I care about them as much as I did back then. It's nostalgic and it feels good, even if at the end of the day, I think this is going to be mostly meaningless baseball at the end. It'll be fun.
Yeah, there's the ability to be in the wild card race. I mean, whatever the case is, look, the Tigers are over 500 in August. That to me is a considerable milestone. All things considering what this team has been through. And so for me, it's just the ability to go down and cover the team and everything's kind of good spirits a little bit too. It is just a nice relieving feeling. And so Tiger fans right now, especially with the Lions are starting this week, or excuse me, college football's kicking off. The Lions kicking off, and there's so many things going on at the beginning of fall. But the fact that here we are, Tigers are a game over 500. They are 30-20 since July 1st, and they're 16-10 this month. Assuring another winning record this month is impressive. And they have also a meaningful series. They have to do scoreboard watching, where the Red Sox are coming to town. They're chasing the Red Sox for the wild card. They're chasing the Twins. The Royals are unbelievable. They just continue to win. And as Tyler mentioned here in the chat here, look at the run differential. They're plus 15, and it's the best in a decade. And that's something, considering where the Tigers are, considering where the Tigers were, as a run scoring, everybody bitched and complained about it the whole entire time. Yeah, and Red Wings, Corey mentions too, Red Wings training camp will start soon. Michigan football, depending on, Michigan State, all your local colleges are starting up too. So I don't want to just favor Michigan, although I don't really care either way. But regardless, still, There's a lot going on, and the Tigers are the center of attention. We all thought, and Tyler's correct, we all thought this team was dead 2 months ago. We thought this team was, there's just, the Paul Rudd. Look at us now. We're opening it up. We're like,
this is a team that cut payroll and was a seller just a few weeks ago. Okay, and those teams don't tend to make any serious noise from that point very often anyway. That's the fun part. This team has, a lot of people have given them up for dead, and they've gotten this nice little run where they're 13-4, and it's interesting. And, when you've been starved from interesting baseball for several years, especially in September, which should be the best month of baseball, it's nice to have games that are going to matter. And because you think back to like 21, Hinch's first year when they got off to that dreadful start. And but they fought back throughout the summer, right? They became somewhat interesting. They were fairly entertaining. But with that team, you just knew. I mean, they had the Castros and they had Nico and Robbie Grossman. That's what that team was built around. And I think we all kind of knew that wasn't going anywhere. They had work to do. And this team, however, boy, you don't have to squint too hard to see success looming, possibly. I mean, you could see Colt Keith winning a batting title in the next few years. I could. That's how I view him. You can, Scooble with a Cy Young, perhaps, in about 6 weeks' time. All those kind of things. I mean, there are players here that they can build around. And I think that's what makes it different than a lot of other seasons where they might have pushed 500 but didn't get there.
Also, to put in the perspective, too, I mean, they have played the White Sox, who are probably one of the worst teams I've seen in a long time. But at the same time, in the stretch, they've played the Yankees, who they play. It's not like they've played all bad teams either. But that being said, there's still work to be done as far as there has to be some pieces added to this roster. There's no doubt in my mind that you have to look at this objectively and go, okay, there's still things missing. I mean, if you can't expect to go into the season with Trey Sweeney as your shortstop because you still don't know if he's going to be a guy who can produce on a regular basis. Torkelson has been producing quite a little bit there, here and there, but you're still there's doubts about him. You still have to improve your starting rotation a little bit. And you really don't know in terms of just, by the way, that Jankowski, we'll have to talk about that Jankowski catch a little bit here in a second. But no, there's a lot of different things that factor in. The Tigers still have work to do. And what I hope is that the Tigers are going to spend wisely, not necessarily spend just to spend, but to spend in a reasonable fiscal fashion in the offseason, because they definitely need it, because there's times where you're going to see, for example, they have Boston coming up and then you have to go to San Diego on the road. That's a tough place to play. And then you got Oakland. I mean, Oakland, the Tigers have traditionally struggled against Oakland on the road. And so the schedule does not get any easier from here for the Tigers. I mean, they don't, correct me if I'm wrong, they don't have to play the Twins anymore. Is that right? Twins.
They were done. They were done in July with them.
And Cleveland too, right? Is that correct?
Yep. I think they have some more games with the Royals and some more with the White Sox too, right?
Yeah.
They end this season with the White Sox, 3-game series.
Yeah. So after they hit the West Coast, they come back and they got the Rockies, and then you have the Orioles, and then they go to Kansas City and Baltimore. That series right there is going to be like that stretch right there between at Kansas City, at Baltimore is going to be a brutal stretch before they end the season with the Rays and White Sox at home. But hey, if you can split the series with the Padres and the A's, because look, there's something about Oakland, as we know, doesn't make any sense, but it just happens. And are they playing in Sacramento, or is that going to be at the Coliseum?
That's a good question. I don't know. I know that Oakland has actually been one of the best teams in the second half this year, or at least they've, I think, since July 1st or something like that. It's like a top 5-6 record in baseball. So that's strange, but I don't know exactly where they're playing.
Yeah, because correct me if
as far as I know, all games are over in Oakland. They're not playing there anymore. That was what I thought. So
are they playing in Sacramento then? Is that where they're playing, or where are they playing?
They're just playing all on the road?
No, I'm just wondering because when were their new stadium is going to be, or whether they're playing temporarily for now. I don't know how we don't. We have the internet here, ladies and gentlemen. We don't.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They might just be playing all their remaining games on the road. That can't be right, though, right? I don't know.
I don't.
I thought
Maybe
somebody
they are
should know.
playing there. I can't find anything. I think they're still there.
All right, because I keep seeing like things about like the last game at Oakland and all this, and I was like, I don't know why I thought there was. Yeah, I don't know why that the remaining schedule looked like, but either way, wherever that they're playing the Oakland is going to be, it's just going to be tough for the Tigers. That's always the case with the A's. And as you were talking about this, Chris, with their schedule, you are absolutely correct. They are, since July 1st, they're 15. So they're 15 and they're 28 and 19 since, they're around the same, they're buzzing along same as well as the Tigers have. They're 21-14 the second half of the season so far. So they are playing very well.
Which does matter, but I'm pretty sure the Tigers have like the 5th easiest schedule in terms of win percentage overall for the rest of the year. I mean, granted, that's heavily weighed down by the fact that there's 3 more games against the White Sox, but I mean, Tampa Bay is nothing that we're too worried about. And I mean, I guess the Padres, I don't know. I stand my ground and still think this is a 500 team, but I'm just happy they're interesting.
Yeah, it's. I think that this last week or two, I guess it's they were 12-4 in their last 16 or something like that. Is that about right? That they've just been playing a lot of fun baseball games with a lot of young guys contributing. And we've seen, today was the sort of game that it was kind of the rubber match in against the Cubs that they lost that we were bummed about, where they just, what was it, 0 for 8, 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position, 10 left on base. Just one of those annoying games that happen sometimes. This, the starting pitcher from the Angels came in with a inflated ERA, and then he went out there and he was throwing like 96-mile-an-hour sinkers that moved 6 feet and dotting the corners. And you're like, they just got sinker balled to death today, and it was just one of those annoying games. But I guess all things being equal, I would prefer a game like that to a game where they get like 2 hits and strike out 15 times, right? Like they had their chances today. It's annoying they didn't cash in on them. They lost 3-0. Montero was kind of AAA Montero, kind of, C- Montero today. He wasn't great. His velocity was down, which is a concern. But they still hung in there, and they went 6-7 against Chicago and the Angels. You'd like to go 7-0, but at a certain point, you're just getting greedy, right?
Yeah. Okay, so thank you. They are playing in Oakland until the end of the year. So next year they're playing in West Sacramento. I was just looking at it. 2020, they're playing there until 2027. So, but yeah, there is an emergence of the kids, if you will, and that's where you have to kind of look at this in a perspective of it's almost like trial. Like there's guys trying out. Look at Sweeney. You're looking at, Baez right now, end of the year with a hip injury, or hip operation. So he's still going to be on this ball club next year, whether people like it or not. I know people just just get mad about it, but at the same time, unless the Tigers can, again, there's never say nothing with like as far as like here we said like a few weeks ago that Trey Sweeney would not be up here because based off what Scott Harris said he's not playing this year in Detroit. Wrong, we were wrong, and he changed his mind, but that's where we are right now. And now you have to kind of figure out the rest of the rotation with Mize, and you have to worry about whether Matt Manning could be something or not. There's a lot of questions on that. But that being said, let's look into what they did the last couple of days. The home runs center on Tuesday night was something I haven't seen. Just Green, Rogers, all went to the center field deep. And there were no cheapies on those.
Was it 1,300 combined feet for something the 3 homers?
Yeah.
It was 422, 425, and 425.
Damn.
I'm not. That's a lot. That's a lot of homers, as Chris would say.
Yeah.
Well, and that's it, to me. It's the best part of what's been going on because this team has been so starved for power for so long, organizationally, for that matter. To see the ball flying over a fence once in a while does the heart good, because they were a dull team to watch offensively for several seasons, and that was primarily why. And now you can just see the beginnings of all these guys in their early 20s who will still mature some more and probably even grow into some more power. And I think the odds are pretty good that this is a team that's going to hit a significantly higher percentage of home runs in the next couple of years.
Yeah. Now the question is whether they decide whatever they decide to do with Spencer Torkelson and if they're okay with him being kind of, if he's going to be just a power hitter or is just going to be an average hitter. And so that's just a guy who can hit for the doubles and the gap and what have you. So yeah, I'm firmly in the camp of somebody asking the question if they will sign one positional player. I think they have to sign one positional player. As far as the outfield goes, is the outfield set with Green, Meadows, and Carpenter? That would make a lot of sense. I mean, you're seeing more of Carpenter getting some time. The platoon splits aside too. There's indications of it because I mean, if you look at the outfield depth beyond that, though, it just drops off. But I think the Tigers should sign a positional player, maybe another outfielder or a utility player. But there's one man among this in the last 3 weeks that stood out more than anybody else. That's Zach McKinstry. 9-game hitting streak, and here we are. I think it's 10 game now. Actually, here we are, late August. Zach McKinstry is an effective player on this roster, and there's no one thought that he would. He has. There's a reason why Hinch goes to him all the time, ladies and gentlemen. This is baseball.
He's just Donnie Kelly, baby, right?
No, he's better than Donnie Kelly. No, Mike, he's better than Donnie Kelly. He's better than Donnie Kelly.
I mean, man, I'm hurt by that. All right, whatever. I'll concede for now. I don't have anything to back it up.
Yeah.
I think McKinstry on a 10-game hitting streak is still hitting like 202. So, there's room to grow. I think he was going to even out. He's not a 150 hitter.
Well, as a utility guy, if he can play good defense, he's a decent base runner. Last year, he had a month where he was dominant. I mean, he really was. He was really, really good for a month. You don't get guys at the end of the bench who can dominate like that for, all time. So this year, he might be having that month right now where he has a really good month of baseball. And this time, it would be much better timed with a wild card run, potentially, at the end of the season when they really need it.
Well, speaking of, I'm trying to pull it up, but speaking of base running, something that's kind of been fueling the Tigers' winning ways, I guess, is, I don't know how else to put it. They have been one of the better base running teams in the majors in the last month or so. I had it up earlier on Fangraphs. I think they're top 5 in base running WAR, if you go off of anything, if you believe in that. But Hinch just talked about it. I've heard him talk about it in pregame and postgame, just mentioning how they're starting to become one of those teams that can get first to third, which is great because it feels like even when they were good, they just had a bunch of slow base runners, and that was always something that was really difficult for them. You had V-Mart clogging up the base pass back then. But they're going from first to third really well, and they're going from second to home really well too. And it's kind of nice seeing a good base running team. I haven't seen that in a really long time. I can't remember the last time I could say that about the Tigers.
A lot of young legs out there.
Yeah, and you know what's weird is like just Joey Cora who gets aggressive. Sometimes I think they blow through that signal too. So, but no, I there in addition to good base running, has been some pretty good. The defense. Well, the Torkelson play the other day at first base where he kind of was like reached out like that, but then I wasn't sure if it was Verling supposed to call him off or not. That was some bad defense, but there's the defense is still where again in the outfield I'm not concerned, but in the infield is where outside of Keith, I think Keith's been pretty good defender, most consistent defender. So, but yeah, let's start going to the segment too. Let's go right into the inside numbers. All right, Chris, what is your inside number?
All right, so I kind of casually brought this up on on our Tigers Minor League Report podcast. It was the game stream that we did the other day with Brandon. But I got two numbers. They are 0.155 and 12.1. And that 0.155 is the batting average against Jackson Jobe in the minors this year. Opponents are hitting 155 against him,
Nice.
which is the fourth lowest out of 579 pitchers with at least 70 innings in the minors. It's spectacular, really. That 12.1 is Jobe's swinging strike rate this year, which ranks 279th out of those same 579 pitchers. It's entirely average. And swinging strike rate isn't everything, of course. Obviously, getting outs is getting outs. And Ty Madden's swinging strike rate is 15.3% this year, and he had an ERA of $1 billion. So again, it doesn't tell you everything, but it's one of the more confusing things to me about Jackson Jobe. And then that was what I kind of touched on in the show is that he just doesn't get many swinging strikes. He doesn't miss many bats. He gets a ton of soft contact and pop-ups, and he misses the barrel. He doesn't get hit hard. But I do worry a little bit about that continuing at higher levels if he doesn't start missing more bats. It's just kind of confusing to me. He doesn't get guys to chase. He just, he walks them or they put the ball in play weekly. So I don't know. Yeah, it's just a confusing thing to me. And I guess if I'm going to talk about it, I might as well own it and be the one who's pushing this narrative, and we'll see what happens.
What's interesting to me is as you say that, it reminded me of about 18 years ago, 17, 18 years ago. People said a lot of the same things about Verlander early.
Yep.
Not a lot of strikeouts. Where are the strikeouts? And people wonder where, are those going to come? Well, of course, we know they did. Now, I'm not saying there's any similarity between the two guys.
No,
but there was that kind of talk then.
No, I think you're right. It is kind of reminiscent of that because Verlander, we didn't know it at the time. We knew he threw really hard and he had a curveball, right?
Yep.
But he had kind of elite ride and IVB on his fastball, and it was always getting pop-ups and stuff, but you didn't know why. And then that's why I think his first year he had a strikeout rate of 6 per 9, something crazy. Like it would be like bottom of the league now. So yeah, there's something there. And when you watch Jobe, his stuff is just spectacular. But I keep seeing people like, hey, maybe we should call him up, for the stretch run. This is, and I don't know if it work. It might. He might get weak contact from big leaguers too. I just know that he's not going to come up and strike like 12 guys out. He hasn't done that in the minors, and I don't think he'd do it in the majors.
I don't think they're going to bring him up, but if they did, it'd be kind of fun to see him in 2-inning outings or something.
I just don't see. I don't. There's a lot of fans that want to bring him up, but I don't. They seem so regimented. He has to be in Toledo for a certain period of time, and then he'll be called up, and then that's how it's gonna go. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's my weird Scott Harris voice, but or whatever that was, my executive voice. But
I loved it. It was great.
Oh, listen, guys, they're gonna have to do this because this is the regimen they have to do. So
now I feel like it's devolving into like Beavis. I feel like that's
no. That's what they were like. Yeah, that's more all right, but as Walter said here, as a longtime pod member, I think the Tigers PTSD from all these guys have consistency is real, and I will say it is a lot more real than it has been in the past, for sure. No doubt in my mind. Muppet Beavis, there we go. So, Mike, what is your Walter? CB says that Joe's gonna be lost. Mike, what is your inside number?
All right, so I have 0.533 and 0.504. So 0.533 is the average win percentage of teams at this point in their seasons in the last 5 years, throwing 2020 out. So 23, 22, 21, 2019, and 2018. And I am counting the team that would have taken the last wild card had they existed in the 3 previous years, just to make things even out. In the last 5 years, the average team, the team that would take that same spot in the standings and would have made that wild card spot, their average win percentage is 533. Tigers is 504 right now at this point in the season. I just want to put it in perspective for people by bringing this up. I'm not saying that the statistics don't mean anything to a single team, obviously, but they would be tied with the third lowest win percentage of any team to make that would have made the wild card. It would be 2018. Pittsburgh was 65 and 68 in 2018 at this time. They ended 82 and 79. Didn't make the playoffs, but they would have if there was another wild card. And then just the last team that made the wild card too. I also did this research. Outside of Arizona, which tied with Miami for the last wild card last year, every team's Toronto got swept. Miami got swept in the first round. Tampa Bay was the last team in 2022. They got swept. And then Philly made it to the World Series and lost. So, at the same time, while it looks like the Tigers are it'd be one of the bigger comebacks in the last 5 years to make the playoffs. It looks like if that happens, they're either going to get swept in the first round or they're losing in the World Series, guys. I mean, the numbers don't lie. That's what I got right in front of me. So that is my inside the numbers.
All right, that's good. That's a really good one there. I like that.
Yeah, 433 or 533 comes out to 86 wins, right? So they currently have 68 wins.
Yep.
And there are
67.
And there are 27 games remaining on the schedule. So they would need to go 18-9. Is that right? Do I have that right?
Yeah, 18-9.
So
That's right.
It's possible. It's possible. It's unlikely, but possible. I like it.
You know what's crazy is I love that they're ending this season against the White Sox. So it's like if they need a couple wins at the very end of the year,
There you go.
They could set themselves up.
Yeah,
I'm just putting it out there, but I don't know about it.
15-9 in their next 24 doesn't sound that implausible. And then you just sweep the White Sox, as one does. Yeah.
Well, somebody,
everybody's saying it's so easy just now. Then it should be easy again, right?
Well, it should be, but we'll see. I mean, the Deadly Ninja Beast, by the way, said he likes their playoff roster better than the Royals, and I don't know. Bobby Witt Jr.'s.
He counts for like 3 guys.
Yeah. There's. I'm not saying 18-9 is doable. It really depends on the rotation too. Real quick, Uper, because I gotta jump off for a minute because I'm joining a podcast for a segment over. So real quick, but Uper, go ahead with your insider number.
Sure, real quick. My numbers are 310 and 638. The 310 is the slugging percentage of one Corbin Carroll in the first 87 games this year. He has driven that up in the last 42 games to 638 with 15 homers and a bunch of triples. Interestingly, no doubles since the All-Star break, which for a guy can run is kind of odd, but I digress. Anyway, the D-backs are making a surge. You can't put it all on one guy, but let's face it, he was a superstar last year. He was pathetic for the first half of this season. I mean, he was hitting 210 with a 310 slug. He was a detriment to what they were trying to do. They were even platooning him. Now he's hitting home runs. He's running the bases again. He's the guy who is the fuel for their engine, and it's good to see him back. I don't know if his shoulder got better, but he's killing fastballs right now.
It's good to see. I mean,
go ahead, Grand Slam is sweet.
Yep.
Yeah. But as far as I don't know about Reese Olson. Reese Olson's still not. I'm not sure if Reese Olson's coming back. But yeah, Mize is coming back tomorrow. He will be pitching, and he's stoked to come back. I know that for sure.
There are some people predicting that they won't play tomorrow because of the weather. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, there's supposed to be storms till another heavy dose of thunderstorms. They lost power this week for a good day and a half. It sucked. My insider number is 6.2, and that is the WAR of Chat Lemon in 1984. It was second only to Alan Trammell. So that's how valuable Chat Lemon was. And again, he's coming into town. Like I said, there's a chance to read the article in the Free Pete. Chat Lemon can't speak, and he has a severe stroke where it hurt his ability to talk. So,
sound like 13 strokes over the years. It's crazy. I knew he had started a baseball academy. I didn't realize he had all these health issues. It's really unfortunate, but
yeah, that's how he had to end his career prematurely too, because I think it's something to do with his, like a blood clot or something like that. So it's a damn shame. But you guys carry on. I shall return.
All right,
All
have
right.
fun. So I just kind of want to. Maybe this is derailing things a bit, but I'm just kind of realizing this. So you guys would be way more familiar with the 1984 Tigers, but the team that really like captured my attention was 2006 with Maglio, and that series. So I'm just realizing that in a lot of contexts with Tigers, I'm looking through a different lens than you guys is, and it's just hearing Roger wax about the 1984 Tigers that just, I've definitely seen a bunch about them, and I like a lot of the players, but that was 8 years before I was born. So I don't know. I don't know. They don't have that big of an emotional impact. It's just really cool. I didn't realize like Roger loved Chet Lemon that much, and I learned something today. I don't know.
The 84 squad was so interesting, Mike, in that if you want to draw parallels with this team, you might be able to. Obviously, we don't know. I mean, a lot of things could go wrong from here with this club. Who knows? But, that 84 team was back in the day. There wasn't a ton of free agency yet with them, although they did bring in Darrell Evans. But it was a group of guys who came up through the system together, basically draft picks, whether it was Trammell and Whitaker and, Kirk Gibson, and we can go on down the line. And they just got a little better every year. They won 92 games in 83, and they were damn good, but there weren't many playoff spots then, and they sat out October. But they just kept getting better and better, and all of a sudden they were a juggernaut in 84. This team is built around a lot of young guys, and they're going to grow together. They're going to get their chance to improve, and they got a couple more coming with Max Clark and McGonigal. So I get a little excited. I mean, we know a lot of things can go wrong with prospects, but there are some parallels to 84, whereas the 2016 was kind of just out of nowhere. They went 76 and 36 to start the season, and no one saw that coming, and that was a hodgepodge of guys, and that worked.
Yeah, I will. I mean, the parallels between back then and now, the Tigers did have a first overall pick that they ended up trading to get Chet Lemon. Although Steve Kemp actually performed much better than Torkelson has, at least, by WAR. But no, I think Chet Lemon, probably the best. I don't know. There isn't a great one-to-one fit for Chet Lemon. I mean, the one-to-one comparison would be Curtis Granderson, right? But I think Granderson was more celebrated than Lemon was in his time. I think the more appropriate player comparison there would be like Carlos Guillen, who was just a really, really good player for a few years. Lemon was a better player for longer, but they were both like 5-6 win players who were kind of surrounded by players who are also very good, if not better, but bigger personalities, bigger stars. So Lemon kind of went underappreciated, I think, just compared to Lou Whitaker and Alan Trammell and so forth and so on.
I always thought Chet Lemon, no one that I've seen went straight back with balls coming over his head better than Chet Lemon. It was unbelievable what he could do in that massive center field in Tiger Stadium. You just couldn't believe it. Some of the catches he'd make out there. And it was in a time before defense was really quantified, like it is now. And, if he'd been playing now, I mean, there'd be a lot of ballyhoo over him. But that trade of Steve Kemp for Chet Lemon with the White Sox, that's a fascinating deal. I mean, that was a forward-thinking trade by the Tigers. If his defense was a big factor in that trade, they really nailed it. I mean, Chet and Steve Kemp was a very good player. My dad always called him the quote unquote good RBI man, the phrase of its day. And he was a nice player. And you thought, hey, Steve Kemp's a guy they're going to build around for a lot of years. And they made a ballsy trade, kind of something you don't see a whole lot of anymore. An established player for an established player, and say challenge trade, who gets the better of it? And the Tigers did. And it was a big reason why they won that world title.
Yeah, it's I don't know, it's fun going back and thinking of these great teams from the Tigers past. But obviously it's unfortunate what's happened to Chet Lemon. And I read the article; it was terrific. I don't know that I don't know if they've confirmed for sure that he's actually coming up. And I thought that was part of the article, was to say like he intends to. They really want him to come up for this, but just in case he's not there, they wanted people to know why.
I didn't get to read it. Did it say what his son is doing now, Marcus Lemon?
I believe he's basically running the baseball academy or whatever it is that they had down there now.
Okay.
I think so. But yeah.
Makes sense.
So I don't know if we want to roll into our good, bad, and uglies, or if we got any other discussion topics.
Well, so I guess I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't pay as much attention as I thought I did. I'm watching every game. I'm looking at stats. So I didn't even realize they were doing a reunion. So I looked at the sidebar when I came in. But so that's going on this weekend. So yeah, it looks like, I mean, the article I have right now that came out today says Chet Lemon, Jack Morris, Alan Trammell, Lou Kirk, and Lance Parrish all set to return.
That's awesome.
Those are the headlining ones.
I hope others, it'd be cool. Like Darrell Evans is there because he was a big part of what they did. I mean, I'd love to see some of the lesser guys like a Marty Castillo, who drove in a run in a 1-0 game, albeit with a double play. He didn't get an RBI, but still, they won a playoff game 1-0, and he got that run home. So, and he was, just a lesser light of that team, but he had his moments.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it's been 40 years, so that we've lost some of those guys, right? Dave Bergman passed away, and Willie Hernandez recently. But yeah, I mean, some of I think, I'd assume Tom Brookins is going to be there, right? And I don't know if this will be Jack Morris's first time back at the stadium since he was unceremoniously left from the broadcast booth, but I'm sure he'll get a fine hand. And Patriot, and Dave Roseman will be there, of course, and it's a lot of those big time contributors should still be there. It'll be a fun atmosphere for sure. And Boston hasn't been playing terribly well, so you hope that they can sneak up on them and maybe take 2 or 3.
If they could just take, right now we can't expect sweeps. Just keep taking the series. That's all they got to try to do. The last 2 days the offense has been a little stagnant, but I think you're right. They had guys, they had chances today. They just didn't get the big hit that they had been getting in some other games. I thought the game 2 of this series, when last night when they won 3-2, if you told me that they were going to score 3 runs and you're going to look at Englert, Maeda, and Brisky and say, "Hey guys, make those 3 whole runs hold up."
Yeah.
Even though it was the Angels, I wouldn't have put a whole lot of money on that. But that's kind of what this team is doing. They're just all credit to AJ Hinch and Fetter and whoever else is making these decisions on who to pitch and what order to bring them out there. It's really been working. They're doing a hell of a job. There's nothing more you can say about it.
I mean, I thought they were pushing their luck, bringing Maeda out there for a 5th inning and got the out and they got him out of there. I'm like, all right, well, I don't know what I'm talking about, but yeah, I mean, that's a good point. It is kind of wild, like some of these unheralded guys, like, Brendan Hanafy was just an afterthought for a long time. He's just a guy. I'm like, okay. Didn't pay a whole lot of attention to him in Toledo, even though it's like part of our job, even though it's not really a job. And he comes up and it's just like, I really think that they've mastered, the seam shifted stuff, the seam shifted wake stuff. Because it seems like all their sinker ballers have these dastardly pitches that nobody could square up. And anybody who throws a changeup is really good. It's the breaking balls, not so much, but you could, as long as you're good at something.
Yeah.
And they have been, and you just hope that they can keep it going.
Hanafy, I've been really struck. I'm with you. I mean, the little we saw of him last year, and I saw him pitch live here in Des Moines back in June, and I'll be first to tell you, I will never see that guy much anymore, right? He is up. I don't know if they've smoothed out his delivery. His delivery looks so nice and comfortable and easy, and he's getting 97 and looking great.
Yeah.
I don't know who to credit, whether it was him or a coach in Toledo or the coaches in Detroit, but something's working.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Oh, I mean, I was just going to drastically change the subject. Boston did lose to Toronto today.
Nice.
I just double checked. They did lose 2-0, mustered 2 hits against the Toronto Blue Jays. So I can't believe I'm scoreboard watching right now at the end of August. Oof.
All right.
Tigers are 1 game over 500. I need to take a deep breath here. But if nobody has any objections, we could head to the good, bad, the bad, and the ugly.
Did we want to laugh at the White Sox at all?
I mean, I plan to do that definitely. I have
all right,
it.
fair enough.
All right, well, why don't you start us off, Chris? What do you have today?
All right. My good is Jackson Merrill. He hit his 20th home run tonight. He is batting .290 on the year. He's 21-year-old who basically switched from shortstop to center field in spring training. And he's just been awesome. He is a top 10 player overall in baseball in the second half. He has 4 WAR on the season, tied with Bryce Harper and William Contreras. He's basically a top 20 player by WAR. And this is despite the fact that he has one of the lower walk rates in baseball. He's one of those guys who doesn't walk and doesn't strike out a ton. He just makes really great contact. He's just been I think he's running away with the National League Rookie of the Year. I thought Yamamoto was going to take it this year, but then he got hurt, or Imanaga, and it's just Jackson Merrill just keeps performing, and he's also got 6 home runs in the 8th inning, 6 game tying or go ahead home runs in the 8th inning or later this year. So he's been this incredibly clutch, fun young rookie who's putting up monster numbers. He's very good, and I did want him in that draft that year, but the Padres got him before the Tigers could. And who knows if the Tigers would have taken him anyway. They took Ty Madden instead.
Well, who made his debut?
Yeah, he did. And he did about, I don't know, he did better than I expected, I think. But it wasn't something that blew me away, right? He kind of went out there and survived, which is
it was nice of them to give him in the White Sox.
Yeah, that was nice. It was an interesting, I don't know, it'll be fun to watch him going forward, but I'm not I'm a little skeptical. We'll see.
Yeah,
Jackson Merrill, though, is a hell of a ball player. And again, I bring up my fantasy team a lot. I know nobody cares about my fantasy team, but I pay attention to him because he's on my fantasy team. He's been a godsend, absolute godsend. So I think and it's a keeper league, so he's mine, baby. Nice. I think he's going to grow into really something special.
Very nice. That was my good. My bad, and we've been talking a lot about the fun young players for the Tigers, but I did want to mention Dylan Dingler struggling a little bit. He's, Raj isn't here to confirm this, but he's looking a lot like he looked when we saw him struggle in Erie for multiple years. He's just in between on everything at the plate. He's late on fastballs. He's early on breaking balls. He's swinging at balls. He's taking strikes. He had that good game in San Francisco where he hit that home run. And since then, he is 3 for 31 with a triple, no walks and 12 strikeouts. And you know what? He's been great defensively. I have no issues with him back there. He seems like he's calling a good game. He's showing off his arm strength. He's not catching everybody, but know what he does. And I think that he's probably been inundated with a bunch of new data and information about catching in the big leagues. It's probably taking up his time, but he is the one guy among the rookies that has really just kind of disappointed at the plate so far. Like Sweeney and Young have had their moments. They're not tearing anything up. And we do need to remember that Colt Keith didn't do anything for about 5 weeks, and Parker Meadows had to get sent back to Toledo. So I'm giving these guys time, but it's been kind of bad for him lately. So hopefully he can figure it out.
Yeah, that was also my bad, Chris.
And sorry.
No, it's just while I was looking into this, holy crap. Yeah, he is an average pitch framer in terms of since he's been called up, he's like smack dab in the middle in terms of like catchers, at least what I was looking up on Baseball Savant.
Mm-hmm.
But he might have had a game worse than the Golden Sombrero.
Yeah.
He had a game where he struck out 3 times, but his 4th at bat, he grounded out into a double play. So we gave Javi a bunch of crap last week. I just think it's only fair to bring this up. And I want to say he had a different game where he struck out in the last 7 games. He struck out twice and also grounded out into 2 double plays. I don't have the exact numbers on me, but he's grounded into, I want to say, 5 double plays in the last 14 games. He's just an absolute crater. It's like you said, with catchers, I just feel like there's a longer leash with catchers. So
Yeah,
we gave Jake Rogers like 4 full years to figure it out.
Yeah, I'm not terribly concerned long term. It's just that's what my caveat always with my bad. It's like, hey, it's bad now, but it could get better, could get worse, but it could get better. Unlike my ugly, which is if you've been on Twitter at all or you've been online, you may have run across these ridiculous Emmanuel Class A Cy Young conversations or posts or whatever, and I get it, right? People are fans; they want their player to win awards, and Cleveland fans have that, I guess. And Class A is spectacular. He looks like Mo Rivera or Kenley Jansen in their prime, right? Like he's not a swing and miss machine, but nobody hits him. It's a diabolical cutter. But I don't know. I think to me, people just don't. What we need to do, we need to raise up the discussion and the prestige of what is now the Mo Rivera Award, right? The award for the best reliever. People should start. We need to just make that more prominent because we need to stop talking nonsense about relievers winning Cy Young awards. And Skubal should win it, probably. Who knows? But honestly, I think that Tyler Holton is closer to winning the Mo Rivera Award than Class A should be to winning the Cy Young Award, right? Like it's just a dumb discussion. I get it. People have to talk about something. It seems like Skubal's running away with this thing, but yeah, it's dumb. Stop it. But go ahead and talk about the Mo Rivera Award. Let's do it.
Yeah,
You can win it. It's gonna be Class A. Sounds good. All right.
Yeah, I was it you that answered? Looks like Jed earlier. What do you think? Jed said on Twitter, "What do you think Skubal's numbers would look like if he faced 3 random hitters a night, 3 times a week, and could pump at max effort?"
Wait, that's he's having a spectacular year, but he's a reliever. Okay, he's got 50 innings, right? 55 innings, something like that. It's just no. Anyway,
I totally agree. I think it's fun to maybe talk about him in the conversation, but yeah, that's it. That it's like, oh man, he might be top 10 in Cy Young Award voting. That I'm okay with, but really to consider, I agree with you.
You want to give him third place vote, second place vote, even fine. But if you give him a first place vote, we're fighting.
Well, how many relievers have won Cy Youngs? I mean, Steve Bedrosian,
Eckersley,
right?
Gagne, Willie Hernandez.
Yeah.
Also an MVP, right?
Yeah. At least Willie pitched over 100 innings.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. And that was, I'll just go into is it okay? Are you I'll go into my bad. That was my bad too, was Class A. So let me.
Sorry, I'm poaching everybody.
No, don't worry about it. Who cares? I'll just chime in a little bit though. But I think the biggest thing is the save stat is starting to be less and less important, right? You can see just by how the Tigers are treating the ninth inning with a bunch of different guys going out there, whether it's Holton, Foley, or even Shelby Miller getting the ninth inning. They're chasing matchups in earlier innings. And I think you're going to see more and more of that around baseball. You're seeing a lot more fluidity with closers with a lot of teams. But when you got a guy like Class A who is automatic, I understand why Cleveland's doing what they're doing. But to value the closer role just primarily because of success in the ninth inning and saves over what Skubal's doing every 5 nights, it's not even close. Especially with the save. I didn't look it up. I wish I had, but I mean, how many 3-run leads did he have for these saves and one leads? I wish they put a degree of difficulty on the save. That would make it more interesting. Because I once saw a stat where a 3-run lead getting blown in the ninth was just as they did a kind of a subjective list of great closers and mediocre closers, and the list of the times a 3-run lead gets blown was almost the same between the two lists, because just bad nights happen. But otherwise, it's fairly easy to close in a 3-run lead. So, Skubal's going to win this thing if he stays healthy and gets through September. I think he's going to be fine. I think most voters will come to their senses and have a good sense of what a closer is really worth versus a good starting pitcher. My good, we also kind of talked about this earlier too. So I want to go back to, I'm going to be fascinated if there's much written about Robin Lund and Fetter and what role they're playing with some of the guys like Herder and Salmons and getting them through some of these outings and being successful when they weren't anything special in the minor leagues, because that has been a big reason why they've had this nice stretch of baseball. It's really something to watch, that this, piecing together these starts with openers has been working out just fine. And of course, the whole thing with the opener, right, is to get a decent reliever out there and get through the top of the order and then bring in the bulk pitcher so that they can maybe go through the order almost twice, but only see the top of the order once, right? That's kind of the whole goal of it. And it's working out phenomenally well. But the tactics and strategy, how much of that is Hinch, how much is underlings doing it? I don't know if we'll ever know. I don't think this team is good enough where anyone's going to write a book about it someday. So, but that's the kind of thing that really fascinates me on the inner workings of how much they're doing to put these guys in the position to succeed. Because certainly right now they are.
Well, Detroit Degenerate, it's just kind of talking about it in the chat. And I don't think there's a chance at all that this happens, but I still think it kind of goes with what you're saying. Tigers revamp the bullpen and start 3 bullpen days a day next year. If you talk to Hinch, I've heard Hinch talk about, and we have Rogelio to maybe help us answer. Welcome back, sir.
All right, what's up?
So Detroit Degenerate just joins us, and this goes off of what you was just talking about with how the bullpen's been pieced together.
Mm-hmm.
Just the idea of the Tigers continuing with the starter and going to 3 quote unquote bullpen days a year next year. I don't think this is something that we would be able to. Hinge has talked about how it's not sustainable. He's done it on the radio. He's done it in pregame and postgame. He said that a lot of things have to go right in order for you to keep this going. And he's mentioned himself that he doesn't think it's sustainable. But what do you guys think? Do you think it's even a possibility
that it goes to the bullpen starts? I think. Go ahead.
We'll see any more next year to start the year.
I think what's going to happen is it's going to be on a necessity again. I think Hinch likes the idea. If you look, case in point, look at Ty Madden started against Chicago. He went 5 innings. I think Hinch likes the idea of having his starting horses, and I think that it was just really out of necessity they did that. And so, I think in a way, like we talked about this on Monday, the Tiger Minor Report. I think in a way that Scott Harris is happy. He's like, "Oh man, we can pay starting pitchers less," and like there's we win by the margins this way. I don't think Detroit Degenerate. I don't think the team that wants to build around it. I think what's going to happen is you build it with a better rotation, and I think he's correct about that because you look at Ty Madden, for example. Who knows if he's going to be a starter or not? I still think that I think he has the ability to, but then again, he has to get a third pitch. But Tigers need starter depth. And if they're, Chris was telling me earlier, Troy Melton's out now with injuries. And so they're going to have to spend some money and get some starters. And so whether it's getting Walker Buehler a deal, which is now the new, trendy thing, give him the Fetter treatment, yeah, that's a good way to put it. Detroit Degenerate said it would be like Tampa on steroids if they went this way. And I would agree with you, Tyler. It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. And I think what's going to happen is you have to look at the ability to go, okay, now you have to do this across the minor leagues too. Because think about it this way. It's not, you can, like there's stagger effect to have to go, like West Michigan's been doing bullpen starts. I was noticing that. Lakeland's been doing it. Toledo has too. Devin Sweet has started a few times, but that's just like a philosophy across the board. But the reason why they're doing it is because the injuries. Flores is now becoming a bullpen guy, as we talked about, but it's also because the amount of injuries across the system.
Right.
What's interesting to me is this is the second year in a row Detroit's had success with these bullpen starts. And I don't think they're going to go to it next year either, by the way. Don't get me wrong. But they actually have shown some success. Last year they didn't have to do it for as long a time as they are this year, but it went well when they did. And this year it's working as well. I wonder if you could, how, depending on how creative you want to get, when if you had a 4-man rotation and you used your off day to go with 4 men, but when you don't have an off day, use a bullpen day in there to get through. I mean, if teams could probably do that if they really set their mind to it.
Yeah. Do we do the good, the bad, and ugly yet or no?
Oh, we're in the middle of it. Why don't
Middle
you?
of it,
Well, I got my ugly real quick.
Okay.
I have a good ugly, if there is such a thing.
Mm-hmm.
The Tigers draft odds, the lottery odds for next year. A month ago, they were at 43% to get into the top 5 of the draft. With this nice sustained run of good play, they have now cratered to a 5% chance of getting into the top 5. So, and I am just fine with that.
Nice.
But it is a big, they really, those chances have imploded.
Yeah, right now they're 14th. Basically just behind the Cubs and just ahead of the Cardinals.
I mean, yeah, I'll take it. Like I said, I'm not sure they're going to keep it going, but I love that, we're talking about will they or won't they even. The chance that we're doing that is just great. I'm going to run through mine really quick before we get to your good, bad, the ugly, Roger, because as usual, my most of mine we get to throughout the show. My good was just Ty Madden. Dude had a 6.98 ERA over the course of the year this year in the minors. It comes out against a 4A team. You could argue that the White Sox is the next developmental level after AAA. They're the quad A team that you get to face. So you could argue it might not even be his true major league debut. But in 5 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, 1 earned run, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts. It was fine. I mean, he was getting he gave up a lot of guys on base. But overall, it was better than I think anyone expected. It wasn't a Kenta Maeda start, and that's kind of what I expected just based on what I'd seen in the minors this year. Looking not as deep into it as Chris and Roger. My bad was just what me and Chris have already piled on to Dylan Dingler. Hate to do it, but I'm not going to do it again, but he has just been a little bit of a crater the last couple weeks. Hopefully he can figure that out. But my ugly is when a team is already historically bad, how can you be Tim Janikowski and just absolutely rob them of one of the only feel-good chances they have in an entire season? Andrew Vaughn hits a bomb to left center field. Travis Janikowski's back there. He goes up and makes it at the top of his jump. He times it perfectly. It's a great play. And if it was any other team, I don't really think I'd care that much. But the White Sox were about to hit a walk-off home run in the bottom of the 9th inning. They were about to do something kind of cool. I think there was literally 100 fans there. Something good, please. And no, they can't even have that. I was laughing so hard when I saw that highlight pop up. And if you listen to both, I listened to both the White Sox and the Rangers broadcast, and the White Sox they're so resigned to it. They're just like, oh, it's just as good of a play as you'll see. They're just they're exasperated. So
it reminds me of that State Farm commercial where the guy's hanging $1.
Yeah. Oh, you're gonna
exactly.
$1. That's exactly what it reminded me. He's like, you guys are catching what? Oh, nope.
Somehow that's the second time we brought up that commercial on the last 3 shows.
Yeah, right. I think I brought it up a couple shows ago. That's so funny.
It's the official commercial of Motor City Metrics.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna replace that guy's face with my face. Just go
Yep.
Did you see speaking of the White Sox, like yesterday as well, the guy at second base was covering the bag for the throw down before the inning.
Yep. And got hit.
Hit in the face.
So got hit right in the nose. That was also a nice commentary.
Yeah.
Anyway, why don't you take us through your good, bad, and ugly, Roger?
All right. Well, my edition is a little different this time. It's going to be all based holding guys hostage. Yeah, Ozzie Guillen is holding court too. So my good is Rupert Jones. So Rupert Jones was a platoon player for the 84 Tigers. And I wanted to kind of talk about, there's a lot of players you can talk about in the Tigers, 84 Tigers that are like household names. You know, like, for example, Lance Parrish was in Erie yesterday doing a tour with Tom Gage. The big wheel, there's so many different names in the Tigers, but the reason why I want to mention Rupert Jones is he was the first All-Star for the Seattle Mariners.
Yep.
And so his career was really interesting to me because he's a guy who's a big what could have been if he were to stay healthy. And so he came, like, literally the Tigers were the last team to take a chance on him. And that season he got called up from Evansville. He had a 3-run homer in the second game back to beat Toronto. And that kind of like, and the Tigers were, and this is from a Sabre bio. It's a really good job here, but he really kind of helped them. The Tigers were struggling the second half of the season, but he hit 5 home runs, about 283 in the first 20 games back. He platooned with Larry Herndon the remainder of the season, ending the season with 12 home runs, 37 RBIs, and a 284 average. 4 of his home runs either won a game or put the Tigers in the lead for good. He hit 2 rooftop homers in a 10-day span. He became the 13th player to hit one over the right roof at Tiger Stadium off the third deck in right field, which prompted Tiger fans to call him Rooftop Jones. And he won off the top of the roof at Comiskey Park. So speaking of the White Sox. But I love this quote. He said, "I'm enjoying this mostly because the adverse circumstances I went through. It takes a lot of support to bring in a new player in a situation of this magnitude where nobody else is willing to bring me into any situation, let alone a winning one. I'm not bitter about what I went through, however. All good things happen for a reason," end quote. I just put things in perspective for him. But I really, like I said, it was just I don't know. I really was just one of the players that really doesn't get enough credit. I mean, he was a 2.4 WAR player, but that's an average player, and that's good. And a guy like that off your bench is really good to have.
And in 79 games, 2.4 WAR. That's very good. That's Zach McKinstry for a full year. Good.
Yeah.
I was looking. He was the Mariners' first pick in the expansion draft, which reminds me of, I don't remember who was always in the chat asking us to do like a future expansion draft. Well, we'll do it one day. I forgot who it was though.
I like that idea though too, to do the expansion draft.
Was he pulled out of the Yankee system? Does it say there?
Yeah, he was. He was
Royals.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Royals. Yeah.
Royals, then the Mariners, then traded by the Mariners to the Yankees.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then he had a bunch of injuries, and the Yankees traded him to San Diego in '82, I believe it was. But so the next player I wanted to mention, kind of a bad, not to say necessarily bad, was Eric Show. Eric Show was a guy who he was an interesting guy. I mean, everybody knows him as the guy who gave up the record-breaking hit.
Pete Rose.
The Pete Rose, right? Yeah, I was just gonna say that. But there's an extensive review undertaken to examine Cobb's hits, by the way, that Rose had really broken Cobb's record in a game against the Cubs on September 8th, 3 days before Show's game. So his angst for all that stress, he did not give up his record-breaking hit. He went to the grave, unfortunately, believing that. This was a guy who was the kind of the ace of the 84 rotation for the Padres. He pitched over 200 innings. And this is an era where strikeouts are not the biggest thing in the world. It's pitch to contact. I mean, K per nine. We look at K per nine now. I mean, it was 4.5, but he was a guy who was really effective. He had an interesting life too. His dad was like this, drove him to perfection. It was just like he was kind of he physically and mentally abused him a little bit. He was part of a rotation that they called the Pep Boys with himself, Dave Dravecki, and Mark Thurman, who also would later pitch for the Tigers. They all had he had a really interesting life, but then he got addicted to, it's fascinating. Before we got to the drug part, he played on a jazz album. It was like he wrote like really good jazz and stuff like that. But yeah, he started having back issues, got addicted to some pills for his back. He went to 10 plus detox centers. but just all the stuff he went through, and then like he just unfortunately he passed away in 1994 in the detox center. But it was just a tragic guy. I mean, him and along with Alan Wiggins too. Alan Wiggins, that was just a tragic thing too. Alan Wiggins was a key part of that '84 Padres team too. If you got a chance to look up what happened to Alan Wiggins, it's tragic. But he was a big guy. He stole 70 bases. That's team. But I don't want to end the season, or I don't want to end this on a bad note. The other part of the good, bad, the ugly, or I guess I would say the other good, will be another player that was off the bench that came up, and that's the Tigers' Cuban player, Barrio Garbe, who is now on the team as the announcer with Carlos Guillen. 287, 325, 391 off the bench. And he was one of the first real Cuban players. I mean, the Tigers had Cuban players before, but he was the one that came over from, I mean, his story of like, he lives in Livonia now. He's a Michigan resident. His whole life and career has been fascinating. So Garbe is going to be part of that 84 celebration this weekend. So yeah, I kind of took a break from the good, the bad, the ugly this week because just wanted to focus on the 84 Tigers a little bit. Because again, bless you boys, all that stuff. They've beaten that to death, but it's 40 years and it's still a significant milestone.
You know, Eric Shaw there, the pitcher, he was a big part of that Braves Padres brawl.
Yeah.
That famous one. He was big in that. And he actually, back in the day,
and the
had
Cubs
a
too,
reputation for plunking guys. I think they got in another fight with Andre Dawson in the Cubs.
Yeah, that's the one where he said he didn't do it on purpose, but that was a huge big deal because I think he hit him in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the one where he had to publicly apologize, and
he had a headhunter reputation.
Yeah. And he actually issued a statement for that too, by the way. He said, I sincerely regret the unintended pitch to hit Andre Dawson. I have never intentionally thrown a pitcher to hit a batter in my life, and I was not even intending to brush him back. I don't believe that throwing at hitters is a part of the game. I apologize to the Cubs, fans of Chicago, and especially Andre Dawson. It was unfortunate. I'm sure I'll regret it for the rest of my life. I don't know any other words to express my feelings at the time.
Wow.
No, yeah, that bio is a roller coaster.
Yeah.
You mentioned that the dad verbally abusing him. I see on Wikipedia it says that it extended to college, where his dad tried to call pitches from the stands, and the catcher said no. And also, let's see. Yes, he was a member of the John Birch Society.
Yeah, that I didn't want to mention. That was the part I'm like,
but it's just funny that there's this quote here from Craig Nettles that said he was going to get kicked out of the John Birch Society for allowing a hit to a red. That's pretty clever.
That is good.
Well done.
And then an episode where he got arrested. It was on crystal meth. It kicked out a cop car and got away, or kicked out the window of a cop car and got away. Yeah, that's a interesting life. Unfortunately, gone too soon.
Well, who hasn't?
Yeah.
Who has done meth and kicked the cop car? It's crazy. No, but no, I'm looking forward to it. By the way, I was in the Crunch Time podcast with Jeff Iafrady, those guys over. Shout out to them. They told you they bow to you, Chris, as they said. Jeff said that they love your Time Magazine article, so they were mentioning your article. So
well, I mean, it was our article.
Yeah,
you did the video, but
that was a very good effort. But nevertheless, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Nothing. Yeah, I know. I just reading about all these. I didn't know about Alan Wiggins either. This is all very.
Oh, you know about Alan Wiggins? Oh, really? Oh, there was.
I mean, I was alive in the '80s, sort of, but I was young and I didn't go back and read about all these players that I didn't. This '80s was a rough year for baseball players, or rough decade. Like, there's a whole lot of drugs going on in the '80s. I guess everywhere, right?
Yeah, Jason Thompson was accused of cocaine. Apparently, former Tiger.
Probably why some people say that's why Sparky didn't like him, right?
Yep, correct. Same thing with Rick Leach, former Michigan quarterback.
Oh yeah.
He's like Huber's like, oh yeah, he did.
There's some real amazing stories about Rick Leach. I mean,
oh wow, yeah, I didn't know that.
There wasn't too many parties that he missed.
Well, you go from being the man on the campus to there's a lot there. So so this weekend the game starts at 6:40, 6:10. So the whole 80s theme. So they have Friday night party, 80s night, which is just, I'm sorry, but 80s night to me every ballpark or everything is the same thing. It's just like neon colored things, crazy Confederate lettering, rinse and repeat. It's the same thing. It's not, you know what I mean? Like, it's always, you always notice the 80s teams. It's always the same thing. There's nothing like, if you really think about, to me, the 80s are, that to me reminds me of the early 90s. It doesn't remind me of the 80s at all. The 80s is just,
You hear the Miami Vice music played a lot?
yeah,
right?
maybe the Miami Vice a little bit, maybe the more of that color, but
Just think of cocaine, really.
yeah, like, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I think of. I mean, they can't do a blow party, like Friday night blow party.
No, that's
Okay.
like
They might
that's
as
the backstage after party, you know.
Bada bing, bada boom. Any chance Job comes up if they get within 1 or 2 games? That was something we brought up earlier. That was actually my inside the number. If you missed it, I don't think it's going to happen because I don't think he's quite ready. Even though we've said he's ready there, but Phil Koch. It's Koch.
Bring him back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
figure it out, but
You know,
No.
the last thing about the 84 series I always think about is I just think they were there was some good fortune on Detroit's side that the Cubs blew that division series because they were the better baseball team. San Diego was pretty good. Nothing wrong. Obviously, they were in the playoffs, but I think Detroit has a tougher time if they get the Cubs. I think it would have been a classic series. I'm not, Detroit still probably could have beat them, but it would have been really something to see. Rick Sutcliffe in his prime and Ryan Sandberg in his prime and all those guys taking on Trammell Whitaker and the boys. That would have been really something.
I think there would have been an advantage for them though, is that the Cubs did have a better bullpen, but I mean, Rick Sutcliffe he was really good that year. So who's also really good in that rotation? One Dennis Eckersley. But Leon Durham too. Leon Durham was a beast, along with Ryan Sandberg. But they also had some really good veterans on the left side of the infield. So you had Larry Boa, who was part of the
Ron Say.
Yeah, Ron. Yeah, I was gonna say Ron Say, Gary Matthews too. That's Bob Denier. That's a very good outfield. That outfield right there. You had the outfield of Matthews, Denier, and Moreland was really, really, really good. And then don't forget too, they had crazy psycho weirdo Mel Hall off the bench as a young Mel Hall. If you guys don't know the story about Mel Hall, Google that up. That's a doozy too. No, but it's also, it's funny about that team. I forgot they have who they have on there is Dick Rubin.
Ruthven.
Yeah, Ruthven. He was another guy who they acquired, who was part, I believe, he was part of the 81. Yeah, he was part of the 81 team that that got the World Series. So, that's a very good veteran laced team there.
I mean, the Cubs are up 2-0. They had that thing in their hip pocket, and all of a sudden Durham missed that one, and Steve Garvey got the big hit, and the Padres are on their way. It changed history. I wonder if it's online somewhere. That winter, then, in the early days of computing, they did this computer simulation, and Ernie Harwell did the play-by-play of a Cubs-Tigers World Series based on the computer simulation, which, as a young 15-year-old, I was fascinated by. I loved it. I listened to the whole damn thing. So
really, that sounds interesting.
Just looking at it through the modern lens, going back and looking at Fangraphs, the Tigers were the best offense in baseball that year. 115 WRC plus, 35.5 WAR. That's a fun coincidence. But the Padres were number 3 at 24.9, although their WRC plus was only 95. The Cubs were 10th, but if you switch to pitching, and again, the Tigers were 5th at 19.5 WAR. The Cubs were 3rd, 21.2. So yeah, that was a much better pitching team. The Padres were 24th out of 26 teams, 7.7 WAR. So yeah, by modern standards, that would have been kind of a miracle run for the Padres for sure. It probably was back then too.
By the way, if you ever don't, like somebody mentioned the Disco Demolition game, you can find the game, the first game of the doubleheader it's actually on TV, on YouTube, so you can actually find the doubleheader, where things started getting a little bit. This is after the White Sox, after the final, the Tigers won 4-1, and this is when Rodrigo Lopez was a closer by at this point.
The size of those letters on the back of the jersey.
Isn't it nice? What a concept, right? A uniform that looks cool.
You can see.
Look at Brookins, man. Holy crap.
I think those are a bit too big.
Yeah, those are a little bit too much, but those away uniforms are fantastic. But anyways, this is the beginning of the demolition disco. I watched this whole game, pitch for pitch, on a Friday night a couple of years ago because I was bored out of my mind. Well, not bored. Screw it. I love watching old stuff like this. And yeah, see, there it is.
It is. That's where I learned. I did not know at the time as a kid that Detroit would get when there's a forfeit, they won the game 9-0. And each guy in the batting order was credited with a run.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't know how that worked. There can't have been that many forfeits in the last 50 years.
No, I don't think so.
But those letters are as big as Mizzou on Mike's jersey.
Yeah, right.
Oh, there you go. Are they playing tonight?
They're playing right now. Yeah, I've had them on the whole show.
Okay,
Nice.
well,
we lost Benetti to a stunning North Carolina Minnesota football game. Really, 2 monster programs this year.
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
Mac Brown's back in North Carolina, so people think they're relevant again. Whatever.
Oh boy, Mac Brown. Cool. He was at Texas, right, for a long time?
Yeah, for a long time.
God, there are a lot of games tonight, huh?
Vincent,
some.
There's Mountain West is kicking off too, I believe. So,
I mean, they're not impressive games, but there are many being
Michigan
played.
State plays tonight, I think, too.
I think they play tomorrow, right?
Oh, maybe tomorrow. You're right. Yeah.
I'm
so,
looking.
that being said, the Tigers will kick off 3-game series starting tomorrow against Boston. As far as pitching matchups go, tomorrow it will be Casey Mize is scheduled to start Friday. Saturday it will be Skubal against Pivetta, and then Sunday Madden will get to start against TBD. So it might be Dick Mountain, aka Rich Hill. Is Dick Mountain coming back?
He pitched. Yeah.
He pitched
now. They're going to have to make a 40-man move, right, to get Mize back on?
Correct.
Have we? I haven't even thought about that. No?
Well,
no.
Did they bring some? Oh, yeah, I guess they did bring Kreidler up when Javi went back down. Never mind.
Couldn't they put Olsen on the 60?
Yeah, that's is he not already in the 60? No, yeah, they could do that. That would make sense. That's probably the move there, unless they want to just like cut Madris or something,
Yeah.
But
we'll see what happens here. But
I thought I read where Olsen could go on the 60. He could still come back if they want him to. Like on
I don't know what day he went on the IL.
I think it was September 19th. He'd be eligible to come back. I don't know where I read that. I apologize who I stole that from just now.
Then the Ninja Bees with the quarterback's name is UNC's quarterback's name is Max Johnson. Dick Mountain, Max Johnson. It's all there. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. Thanks so much for listening. If you're listening at home, and we'll be back on Monday with the minor league recap, as we'll be recapping all the stuff, sad state of affairs, and with all the roster changes or injuries. We'll go into more with Troy Melton. Don't forget to TigersMLReport.com. There is a article that I just put, or a scouting report on. Am I drawing a blank all of a sudden now?
Tyron Lorenzo.
Yeah, Lorenzo. Thank you. There's a scouting report on that, and then there's one coming up on Rainer Castillo next couple days. There's also an article I'm working on about the 1980 Tigers and comparing them to the Tigers now. And that's something I've been working on here and there, but that'll be probably dropping this weekend. I'll be down at the ballpark Friday and Saturday. Hope to see you down there, and we'll catch a brew, a hot dog, whatever. Hopefully the Tigers take 2 out of 3 from the Red Sox, sweep them. That'd be nice too. For myself, Chris, Mike, who go Tigers in 2 different ways now. Stay classy, everybody. Have a good night.